Hello, my name is Matthew Campbell, and I would like to share a little bit of my backstory to give some context to some of the stuff I've been sharing lately. I'm a family medicine physician, and I found myself in midlife accomplishing all the things that I thought would make me happy, but was disappointed to find out that they didn't. I was successful, I had achieved good financial status, I had a nice home, cars, travel, an amazing family. But I just had this, this feeling of dissatisfaction, like something was missing. And I began this relentless journey to selfishly figure out what it was for myself. And that foray lasted for years and years and is still ongoing. But I've gotten to a point where I feel drawn to share some of this stuff. I think it's just part of who I am. I love helping people. That's why I'm a family physician. And I don't know, just something inside of me makes me want to share some of the stuff that I've come across, and some of the things I think I've discovered about life, and certainly things that have helped me. And that's kind of where I find myself. And so I've been exploring this for a while. I started by writing some stuff, putting initially on LinkedIn, and then started putting some stuff on Substack, and later moved to Instagram, and now moving to YouTube. And I really don't fully know where all this is heading. The next kind of chapter of this is I would love to start a coaching program, and I'm looking forward to do that in the very near future. But I thought it would be interesting to kind of share some of the backstory of who I am, how I've gotten where I'm at, and maybe touch on a little bit of the stuff that I feel like I've learned, at least, like I said, stuff that's been helpful to me. I've always been a bit of an outsider. I grew up in a small farming community in the Thumb area of Michigan, for any of you that are familiar with the state. And it was a rural area, and smack dab between Flint and Saginaw, that are two big manufacturing cities. And so most of the people that I grew up with were lower socioeconomic people, and not necessarily the most open-minded people in the world. I was a little bit of a outsider, a different person, because I loved to skateboard, listen to different music, things like The Cure and New Order, and those things certainly weren't super popular back then, and definitely not there. It led me to have a lot of what at the time I felt were certainly unpleasant experiences, and I didn't enjoy them. That being said, as time went on, I think they helped contribute to who I am, and some of the things I've learned have come from that. Initially, I thought it was a curse, but now that I look back on it, I think it was a gift, because it taught me strength and independence in being who I am. And then, I think if I've kind of struggled starting back then, but it's carried into adulthood, of being my true authentic self, being in that farming community, and being a bit of a different person, being into skateboarding and the stuff that wasn't popular. I wasn't athletic, I wasn't cool, I wasn't handsome. And I really struggled with fitting in. And I've kind of went through different phases of hiding myself, hiding who I really was, not wearing clothes that I really liked, not wearing Vans, just trying to fit in. And it was either that or do the things I liked and take a lot of flack for it, because those things weren't tolerated. I mean, they aren't tolerated in society as a whole, but definitely weren't tolerated in that small farming community. So that's kind of when that all began. And then I've had this journey of going back and forth my whole life with this struggle of exposing who I really am, the music I like, dressing the way I want to. And I kind of went back and forth between, undergrad, medical school, residency, and into adulthood, where I just felt this constant tension between who I was and who society tried to force me to be by normalizing me and making me like everybody else. And I felt like I was trapped between two extremes. Either I would just be my true self and have people hate on me and, give me grief for how my hair was or what I was wearing or how I dressed or whatever, versus kind of hiding who I was and doing my best to fit in and feeling this tension of not being true to myself. And I don't realize how much of a central role that was to later in the journey discovering or feeling that I wasn't happy, I wasn't satisfied in life. And I realized that what it came down to was that I was basically trying to do the things that society told me would make me happy, made money, chase status, had money, cars, houses, and it just never fulfilled me. And I came to later realize that that's not the point. The point is to be true to yourself, and certainly having financial success is not a bad thing, but it shouldn't be the end game. I think it's good to strive and try to be the best version of yourself. And in fact, that's what I've come to realize, that the whole point of life is, at least in my opinion, is to be the best version of yourself, and be true to yourself and do the things you believe in without selling your soul to become what everybody else is like and what society expects you to be. So that's kind of the journey I've walked, and has led to me coming to where I'm at, and has led to a lot of insight into the nature of life relating to these things and what truly makes one happy and what I think is a more fulfilling way to live. And I'm hoping it resonates with other people, but we'll find out. But I'm going to continue to try to share these things. And if you have any comments or find this interesting, let me know. And if you're interested in hearing the story continue, hit subscribe and like, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.